White pawn marches to e4. Black pawn marches to e5. White knight marches to f3. Black knight marches to c6. White bishop marches to b5. Black knight marches to f6. White kingside castling. Black knight captures pawn at e4. White rook moves sideways to e1. Black knight retreats to d6. White knight captures pawn at e5. Black bishop marches to e7. White bishop retreats to f1. Black kingside castling. White knight marches to c3. Black knight captures knight at e5. White rook captures knight at e5. Black knight retreats to e8. White knight marches to d5. Black bishop marches to d6. White rook retreats to e1. Black pawn marches to c6. White knight retreats to e3. Black bishop retreats to c7. White knight marches to f5. Black pawn marches to d5. White knight marches to e7 and gives check. Black king escapes check at h8. White knight captures bishop at c8. Black rook captures knight at c8. White pawn marches to g3. Black knight marches to d6. White bishop marches to h3. Black pawn marches to f5. White pawn marches to d3. Black queen marches to d7. White queen marches to h5. Black rook moves sideways to e8. White bishop marches to f4. Black pawn marches to g6. White queen retreats to f3. Black knight retreats to f7. White bishop retreats to d2. Black rook captures rook at e1 and gives check. White rook captures rook at e1 and breaks check. Black rook moves sideways to e8. White queen retreats to d1. Black king moves sideways to g8. White pawn marches to a4. Black pawn marches to a6. White pawn marches to a5. Black queen retreats to d8. White pawn marches to b4. Black rook captures rook at e1 and gives check. White queen captures rook at e1 and breaks check. Black knight marches to e5. White queen marches to e2. Black pawn marches to d4. White bishop retreats to g2. Black queen marches to d7. White bishop marches to f4. Black knight retreats to f7. White bishop retreats to d2. Black knight retreats to d8. White pawn marches to c4. Black pawn marches to c3. White bishop captures pawn at c3. Black knight marches to e6. White pawn marches to d4. Black bishop retreats to d8. White pawn marches to d5. Black pawn captures pawn at d5. White queen marches to e5. Black pawn marches to d4. White bishop marches to d5. Black king marches to f7. White bishop captures pawn at d4. Black bishop marches to e7. White queen marches to g7 and gives check. Black king escapes check at e8. White queen marches to g8 and gives check. Black knight escapes check at f8. White queen retreats to f7 and gives check. Black king escapes check at d8. White bishop marches to b6 and gives check. Black king escapes check at c8. White bishop retreats to b3. Black bishop marches to d6. White queen retreats to c4 and gives check. Black queen escapes check at c6. White queen moves sideways to d4. Black bishop retreats to c7. White queen marches to g7. Black bishop captures bishop at b6. White pawn captures bishop at b6. Black queen marches to c1 and gives check. White king escapes check at g2. Black queen retreats to c6 and gives check. White king escapes check at h3. Black queen moves sideways to d6. White bishop marches to d5. Black knight marches to d7. White queen marches to g8 and gives check. Black knight escapes check at f8. White queen retreats to f7. Black knight marches to d7. White queen marches to e8 and gives check. White wins by checkmate.